Dudes to Dads is a podcast to help men understand and navigate the transition of being a single dude into a family man. How do we make sense of it all? Well, we probably won't be able to, but let's go ahead and have some fun trying. And we are back.
We are back.
He's Alan Bush.
He's Jason Cradman.
And this is Dudes to Dads. Do you see me switch that up?
We Tarantino'd it.
That was awesome that you caught that.
Yeah. I'm on the draw, man.
I always think you're not paying attention.
I'm always paying attention.
You are always paying attention.
I'm one receptive fool.
Welcome to another episode of Dudes to Dads. So I got to brag for a little bit.
Okay.
This is because I have this medium and I can. And so
if you don't want to listen,
brag about my child. Yeah, everybody, if you don't want to.
Fast forward.
No, it really, it relates to what we do here.
Yeah.
So the other day, I was with my kids and just me, and we were going into the store, and my son kind of battled that he did not want to go into the store. So it became a little bit of an argument on his part. I didn't really think it was worth arguing, but so he got a little bit aggressive and was upset, and and I said, I'm not letting you sit here. And finally, I just said, fine, I'm not going to argue this.
Sure,
I'm going to go. So we go into the store quickly. We come back out. I get in the car, and he says, "Dad, I didn't really handle that well. I should have talked to you different and been more more respectful." Whatever he had said.
Wow.
That is the culmination.
Yeah.
A culmination? Just culmination. Yeah. Whatever. I love my made up words.
Yeah, exactly.
Of exactly what we're trying to do.
Yes.
And it made me feel so good.
Yeah.
And part of that, that we talk about all the time, and that's why I feel proud about it, is that it's monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
I make mistakes. I get upset. I handle things in a way that I shouldn't handle things.
Yeah.
And I often, not all the time, I could do it more, will talk about that with my kids and say, hey, listen, I could have handled that differently. I should have asked you this way.
Right.
I should have, been a little nicer, whatever it is. Kind of like a do-over. Mm-hmm. And the fact that my son recognized that, he's 8 years old.
Yeah.
Was just, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was an awesome, and,
yeah.
And
she had 8.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And just the idea is you know what? I could have handled that better.
Yeah.
I'm I didn't even really get into it. I didn't even, other than just saying, hey, no, I appreciate that. That was really, I really appreciate you recognizing that. And okay, we're good.
Way to man up.
So, and the reason I say that is, whether it's the meetup or these, talks and the podcast, it is so crucial with them seeing how you handle stuff.
Right.
So when you're in an argument with your spouse, when you're talking to them, whatever it is, you have to be aware that they see what you are doing at all times. And this was a perfect example, is because I know that that's where he got it from. Now, there are other things where I see a negative and I'm like, well, I know exactly he got that from me too. But when you see the positive things that they get from you because you are making the effort to do it, it is really, really cool.
Yeah.
That's a tool right there that he has, and he can do that. So, that's not without a lot of work, and it's not going to happen and be perfect all the time. But to sort of celebrate that moment and to celebrate that, it felt really, really good.
That's awesome.
That's the essence of what it is that I'm trying to do as a parent, and saying, okay, I got to teach them what's going on here. Now, I mess up all the time.
Right.
In fact, it was funny. I was telling the story in the meetup the other day, and I said, okay, and then bedtime happened and I wasn't as good, or vice versa,
Sure.
It's but celebrate those moments.
Yeah, you gotta live in that moment. Yeah, for sure.
So the episode today, how you been, by the way?
Great.
Didn't ask that.
Everything's awesome.
I'm always worried about myself.
No. It's not about my therapy sessions.
You came in and you were smiling, so I figured everything's
groovy.
Good. Probably more inclined that if you had
if I was frowning or
kind of sitting down in your chair,
slamming my chair. Yeah, I shouldn't have handled that.
Overall,
better.
you're a pretty good mood guy.
Usually.
Yeah.
Usually.
It probably takes a lot for you to.
When I'm at that stage, watch out.
Yeah. Well, it's late at night and full days of work and teaching and doing
it's the end of the day, so everything's good.
Right. That's true. That's true. And if it wasn't, you have the chance to do it again tomorrow. Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
I was at the gym. One of the guys asked me, he's like, so, what's going on? I'm like, Groundhog Day. Like, the movie where it's just the same thing every day. It was like, 5 a.m. and he's like, how's it going? I'm like, how's it going every day at 5 a.m? Like, I'm really happy to be here. I get to celebrate that I'm sleeping less. Anyways, getting back on track here.
Right.
I get so excited. Episode 86.
Yes.
Whew, I can't believe that.
Right.
The importance of having fun as a family.
Fun.
So this is somewhat timely as we approach very quickly the Halloween.
Likely by the time this comes out, it'll be around Halloween.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, usually only takes a couple days, so that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So... And this is noticeable when you go to parties or you do things, is that, children look to their parents as examples. And so in the same example I gave when I was handling a situation and my son did that, they're looking at how you participate in things. Mm-hmm. And the idea that, the parents who like to have fun, most likely their children will be people who like to have fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too.
Yeah.
Not always, but there's certainly an influence there.
Yeah.
And so when parents don't participate in fun, mm-hmm. Kids are going to copy that behavior, mm-hmm. And that it's, whether it's choosing not to participate in something at school, something with their friends, whatever it is. And the reason this came about, I was recently having a conversation with someone and they were talking to me about Halloween. And they said they always felt like their parents were so boring mm-hmm. because they never dressed up. Mm-hmm. They would go to a party and it was like it's a costume party and their parents would just not dress up. It's like, it's for kids or whatever. It's like, and they just had this negative kind of vibe with it, and not just Halloween. I mean, it was any holiday, you're going to a holiday party and people wear like the sweaters, whatever, and they just didn't participate.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot. And my thought or my recommendation would be just participate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I happen, and both my wife and I happen to be ones who like to participate.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for me to say that. We're both outgoing, and such. But so I have to be a little bit empathetic for people who just maybe are a little bit more reserved or a little shy. But when you have children and they see that you don't participate.
Yeah.
That's to them like you just don't want to have fun.
Yeah, it kind of takes the fun out of it. What's funny? Now I have this memory of my grandmother who dressed up like a witch every Halloween. She put on the witch hat and the long black thing, and so she just gave out candy. She didn't do anything. She made little desserts and stuff
but she participated.
But she participated. Even when I was out, she was participating with the other kids coming to the door.
Absolutely.
So she just had fun with it.
Yeah, and you can accept the fact that you're boring. Like some people are perfectly fine with it. They're like, well, I don't dress up or I don't participate in things, but I'm totally fine being boring. Yeah. But there's a lot of benefits to participating in the fun, mm-hmm. And Halloween is just one of those things, but there's a lot. And there's a couple, things I want to touch on. So the first thing was, building a family identity. Mm-hmm. So as a family, like for us, like, my kids know, like we all, until they won't do it anymore, we all dress up together.
Yeah. You guys are cool about that. Like, within 1 year, you do like, you're all Michael Jacksons, different various Michael Jackson stages.
I can't tell or say what we're doing this year, but it is very epic. No, just because I'm sitting in the garage building it every day for the last 2 weeks.
Sure.
So no, we get into that stuff, mm-hmm. and whether it is the holidays or it's a costume party or just everyday things about having fun. We're going on vacation or which I'll talk about. So building that family identity that they identify with the family, they participate with the family. And one of the other things, it strengthens that internal bond of the family. Mm-hmm. You're doing things together. That alone is a big deal. The idea of participating in things as a family, they have that identity. They feel like they belong, mm-hmm. which is huge as they get into older age,
right.
The teenagers and things like that, because, those who feel that they belong are tremendously less likely to get in trouble. We'll talk about that. I think it also creates confidence in the children. Having that participation, they're part of something.
Sure.
I think it does. It builds that sort of internal confidence as well.
Yeah.
Another thing, it creates lasting traditions.
Yeah.
You know, so like you even mentioned your grandma, that's a very positive memory for you.
Yeah, very vivid memory that I have, even 30 something years later.
Yeah, and Halloween is one aspect. We're going to talk about some other things you can do to have fun and participate and do things as a family. Now, and you can go online and find 101 ways for the family to have fun, and some of them are really inexpensive.
Yep,
very free. Very free. There's free, very free, and super free.
Uber free, as
I love when I catch myself. That's the beautiful part about not wanting to edit so much. We were just talking about that before we went on. We're like, gosh, the last time we did this, it was like we didn't really need to edit anything.
Yeah. It's like we just let it flow.
Let it go. So it's more real, more raw. That's us. The other thing is, which I had kind of alluded to, was less behavior problems as they get into teens. So that's less drugs, less things. And that's part of feeling like they are part of the family.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you're unifying the family by these traditions and these fun things.
Correct.
And the activities, positivity, really.
Yeah, and it's funny, my kids said the other day, they're like, well, because that's our family.
Yeah.
And that's... trying to build that like they know that like, well, hey, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Or that's a part of us. Sure. And so it's really good to create that, whether it's the bond or the identity. So, and then there's the aspect. So it's not only great for the family, but I wanted to touch on a little bit things just for the dad specifically. Like, the reasons like, well, why should I do that? Why should I participate in these things? Well, it reduces your stress levels. It's... This is a science. This is not a me out of my intestinal tract. This is a scientific thing.
Sure.
Having fun reduces your stress level.
Yeah.
So the work-life balance, planning to do things. These things can be very, very helpful in reducing your stress. Which along those lines is increasing your serotonin levels. Mm-hmm. If you're not familiar with serotonin, it's sort of the chemical that makes you happy.
Sure.
So that's what a lot of prescription drugs have in them, serotonin.
Yeah. But also something like laughing or releases that.
Love and hugs.
Doesn't working out release some of that too?
I think so. Yeah. It reduces cortisol, and there's all kinds of hormonal things and stuff. But basically, as doing things as a family literally can make you happier. Mm-hmm. I remember I was looking at a list. It was a list, or maybe it was a TED Talk, talking about one of the most important things is having a plan to do something fun. So like a vacation or something like that's like part of the formula for happiness.
Okay.
Having something to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure.
To do that.
Yeah.
Just straight up creates a better relationship with your kids.
Yeah, totally.
The idea that you get to share an experience together and have fun and just enjoy yourself, it really promotes those bonds and creates those memories. And so for you as the dad, it just helps build that relationship.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, it's interesting because I'm sorry to segue into the back to your life, but you do the Taco Fridays or whatever it is, right? And then you have,
which I'm going to talk about.
Yeah. The game nights and stuff like that. So we've talked about some of the stuff on the show, and that's a really good
we've alluded in various things about the importance of traditions and, holidays and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
This is specifically, like I said, came about because of the participation and sometimes the lack of in witnessing that in families. Now, it doesn't mean that the family is bad. It doesn't mean that the parents are horrible. It's just you're missing an opportunity to have fun.
Yeah.
And there's something about, I guess, the fear of missing out where I'm hesitant to miss out on fun. Right. Especially when my kids are young, because I know that's going to change where eventually they're not going to want to hang out with you as much.
Yeah. And then when they get to be teenagers, it becomes less and less prevalent that they want to be with you to do certain things, or they're going to have their own life or their own friends. And,
I've talked to guys with, with older kids, and they're just like, we have a great relationship. They just don't want to hang out with me anymore. And I'm like, ooh, that's going to be a hard one.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a podcast about that.
Lonely Jason.
Yes. I know. What happened when they left the nest? In 10 years, we're going to have that podcast.
Exactly.
And here's a very interesting one. For many guys, it'll actually score a few points with your wife.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the wife or significant other, girlfriend, partner, however you want to phrase it.
The other person.
You actually get some points there.
Cool.
And, they look at that very, very positively of you participating and having fun. And I don't want to say it's the stereotype of like the mom is more involved and then the dad is more of a stick in the mud and, not wanting to do it. That's probably more traditional. But, it just is looked at positively. People, it's funny. I think people often, especially like Halloween and the dress up stuff, they don't do it because they're embarrassed.
Right.
There's something about it they're embarrassed about. They think that they'll look stupid or whatever. So that vulnerability isn't desired. The truth is, it's very attractive. Women find that very attractive.
No, there is something to be said for being vulnerable. I know I used to be kind of like trying to watch how I was all the time. And then when I let it go, I think I became a lot more easygoing and a lot more attractive to women and to people that were, involved with me, because I just was like, whatever, everything's fine. And like started doing,
you're more comfortable in your own skin.
Absolutely. Because you're not afraid to make a fool out of yourself. You almost do it intentionally.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you think about people who go all out, whether it's actors, performers, musicians, athletes, and they risk looking really stupid, but that it works.
Yeah.
It's just very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So what are some ways to have fun? That's kind of one of the other things. Now, I mean, you can probably think of 1,000. There's probably, there's tons of things online, but I just kind of thought in my own life, what are some ways that my family likes to have fun?
Yeah.
And we're able to implement, and that are not that difficult.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you'll notice that none of these involve electronics, TVs, or movies.
Right. You know how you feel about those.
Right. So the first one is just playing games. And these are very broad. These are very general. I'm not even going to go into specific details, but board games, hide and seek. It doesn't matter.
Card game.
Playing a game as a family, interaction. It's great. And you're having fun. Your kids have fun to do that. Food is another category. Eating meals at a restaurant. Sometimes the idea of just going out, if it's not something that your family does on a regular basis. Like for us, we eat home a lot. So for us, going out is an adventure.
Sure. Yeah.
And if money is an issue, I mean, it could be having a picnic at a park. Just eating outside, like my kids will love. We don't do it very often, but we eat in the backyard, or we've even eaten in the front yard. Where my kids are like, "Can we have a picnic on the driveway?" We've done that for breakfast. Yeah, I can't imagine what some of the neighbors think.
Like, what
are those kids?
Dining room
yeah,
table
do those kids have a table somewhere? Or just another thing with food is having them help you cook.
Yeah.
And that experience as well, which I try to do.
You mentioned
sometimes frustrating. It can be.
Yeah, it takes longer, like you said, but it's actually more fun.
Absolutely. The other day, this was on over the weekend, my daughter helped me do the barbecue.
Oh.
Just helped prep food.
Cool.
In fact, she was awesome. And then she washed all the dishes.
What?
Yeah. So like when I was done with something, I gave it to her. She went and washed. Yeah, it was cool.
Wow.
And she's 6. So it's like, they love to participate and help when it's their, like they're deciding to do it.
Sure.
So she asked, she's like, "Hey, can I help you?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." I mean, she was cutting some stuff. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it actually helped stretch my comfort zone of what she's capable of.
Exactly.
She actually brought it up to me and said, "Dad, no, everybody thinks I can't do stuff." And I felt bad. And I said, "Okay, you're right. You know what? You're right. You should give him the opportunity to
grill the meat."
Yeah. It's probably better than I can on some of that chicken. Let's not go there. Yeah. I'm good with steak. I'm just not good with chicken. I get different chicken now that I know you can cook it a lot longer, and so it's harder to overcook.
Oh, so it won't burn.
The thigh is way easier than the chicken breast.
Yes.
So another one is creative projects. So on Halloween, carving pumpkins.
Yeah.
Doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's fun.
Another thing that happens in our house is using sidewalk chalk. Outside, on the street, it washes off.
I've been seeing that around my neighborhood. The kids with
haven't?
I have been recently. Yeah. Because I live in a beach community, and it's not a lot of kids, but there are kids there. Yep. And so I see like a little hopscotch thing or someone drawing something or it's kind of fun.
So you can participate in that as well. We've done like bike tracks and we've done that kind of stuff, and it's just cool to participate in that and something creative.
Yeah.
The other is a vacation. So that's been something for us where we try to book it pretty far in advance, where we have something to look forward to. So we're saying, next month or in 3 months we're going there, or whatever. And it's funny because I almost look to after the vacation to book the next one.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The idea of like, right, let's get it on the books.
Yeah.
We're going to have a vacation next summer, next whatever.
Sure.
And it's really just something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And then, obviously that's one aspect is having just something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And then the other is, doing that. Now, from a budget standpoint, it might be you can just go away for the weekend.
Yeah.
Or camping. There's all kinds of things you can consider a vacation. Going to a relative's house.
Yeah.
Those are vacation. Well, it can be.
I like the idea of getting kids out of their element for a little while and put in, because I traveled a lot when I was a kid, at least in terms of the United States. I mean, I wasn't overseas all the time, but like I grew up in different areas, Massachusetts, California. I even moved to North
different
Carolina.
Experiences.
Yeah, just different experiences. I always it was cool that my cousin would visit in the summer times. He lived in St. Louis, in the city. It was very urban environment. And his mom would send him to stay with me and my grandma and my grandparents to stay with us. He was like my brother, really. Right. He was like, kind of the brother from another mother type of thing. And he'd come in the summers, and he always loved it because, it was just a completely different environment. We were in a town. I lived in like I guess a large town, but it was still a town. There was trees everywhere. Right. We used to go running around the
different than
woods,
city
catch
life.
snakes. Yeah, completely different than what he was used to. So it's always good to get kids out of their element.
Absolutely. I mean, new experiences are always fun and always, new challenges.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The others is sporting events. And the same thing. It doesn't have to be a pro event. It could be college or even a local high school. Yeah. I mean, especially when your kids are younger, they don't know the difference to go watch a high school football game. Yeah. It's $5 to get in or whatever it is, sometimes free.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's no excuses about having fun. I should say the excuse of a budget.
Right.
The idea of time, that's something else that we'll talk about. But really there shouldn't be an excuse because there's things that you can do for free.
Yeah.
Or very inexpensive.
Sure.
So these are not things that take a lot of money. So,
right, yeah.
So I have some tips for success.
Okay.
So basically, in doing these things, maybe some ways that you can handle it and sort of be successful with it. The first thing is branding the event that you're doing. So instead of just calling it game night.
This is your marketing coming out, right?
Yeah. Instead of calling it game night, call it like, the Smith family game bonanza, something.
Sure.
Something big that the kids like think of, like for us, yes, I mean, Taco Tuesday or, or Taco Friday or whatever. But yeah, I mean, we could probably have a little bit more exciting of a name, but they still love it.
Oh, yeah.
So whether even if it was a movie night or even if it was something, just make it a bigger deal, than it is.
Yeah, and it sounds even more fun.
Totally. The word bonanza or extravaganza right, or festival or, that sounds huge. It's also crucial to set aside specific time to have fun. Mm-hmm. So it's not just, well, we'll do it when we get to it or we'll see what happens. Put the fun on the calendar. Mm-hmm. Next Friday night, we are going to do this. 3 weeks from now, we've got this planned. Like plan it, put it down on the calendar, pen it in, and don't let other things come over.
For sure.
Come over.
Yeah.
It's really important for that. Make it a regular activity. So whether it is weekly, monthly, whatever makes sense for the situation. Obviously, it's not something like vacations every week, but where you could have a game night. Now, if it becomes cumbersome, you might not want to do it every single week, or maybe it's once a month. But have something that's regular, that's consistent. And we talked about that with the traditions, and that's kind of along those same lines. And so they can, have both you and the children have something that is, steady, consistent, and fun. And so they know and they can look forward to it. And probably one of the most important tips for success is to ask the children what they want to do.
Okay.
So, give them some options. But just because you think it's fun doesn't mean they think it's fun.
Right. Yeah. There's probably some things that are almost universally fun, but then there's probably things that you think are awesome. Right. And they're like, this is really not cool.
I was listening to the radio recently, and I remember they were talking about that, where he said, as a kid, they went to some lake like every year, and he was like, gosh, I hated going to that lake. And he said, as he was older, he asked, he's like, Mom, you and Dad always would take us to this darn lake. Yeah. He's like, yeah, we didn't care what you guys wanted. We just enjoyed going to the lake. So it was like that kind of thing where the parents were like, granted that sometimes that's okay.
Yeah.
But
character building.
They may have. The parents didn't care, but the idea of allowing the children to participate in choosing some of the fun,
sure,
and then give each person a turn. Like if it's family game night, each person takes a turn.
Picking
one week, the next week somebody else.
Yeah.
In doing that, so
sure,
these are tips and success for having some fun in your life.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
If anyone has tips or suggestions or feedback, what do you think they should do?
I think they should go to podcast@dudesanddads.com.
Go to it or email us, you mean?
Yeah. Well, they can write it. Yeah. Email us, whatever they want to do.
I forget.
Go to dudesanddads.com.
Yes.
There's a bunch of great information there. But for sure, email us podcast@dudesanddads.com.
At Dudesadads?
Yep. At
Twitter?
Dudesadads, Twitter. Dudesadads.com, Facebook.
Yep.
And then what you really could do, which is a lot of fun, is go to iTunes and Stitcher and leave 5-star reviews saying how fun you had.
How much fun you
had listening to the show.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything
you can
else?
have your kids listening to it. No, I think it's great. And then YouTube, we also have subscribed to all of them.
Oh, that's right. YouTube videos.
Yeah.
They're now coming out, videos of the podcast.
Yes.
So we're trying in these different mediums.
Lovely things.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube if you can.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So with that, thank you, Alan, as always. And we will see you next week.
See you next time.